Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Keeping It Real Conversation Show with your host, Camila, aka Sunshine. It is Thursday, August 31st, the last day of August 2023. We are glad to be in the land of the living. It could have been another way, but God had another plan. This evening, we are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. The name of the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Let somebody know we are live right now. As I state that I believe in 6 degrees of separation. You're literally one person away, one advice away, one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. Proven over and over again since I started this show. Going on next month, 3 years. I'm excited for this monumental time. Right in the pandemic, when I started this lovely conversation that I have with some of the dopest guests in this world. Tonight is no different than any other night with this young man right here. And once I get done with his super short bio, doesn't mean he ain't doing nothing. It's just real short. We gonna get into the conversation of how I met him, what we doing, what we cooking, and then we'll let the conversation go where it needs to go. So tonight, Mr. Jason Jamerson is a Detroit native who has shared the stage with the likes of Tony Roberts, Mark Curry, Chris Redd, to name a few. He won the Cleveland Comedy Open in 2018, was voted Detroit's best comedian by the Metro Times magazine in 2020. He has his first comedy special in his YouTube channel titled Pastors Might Sit Me Down. He is sure to keep you laughing with his unique take on life. Tonight, you guys, I want you to welcome this wonderful powerhouse who I thought was a football player, but that's neither here nor there. Mr. Jason Jamerson.
What's going on? What's going on?
I am so happy to have you here tonight of this wonderful conversation. Again, this conversation or this show is broadcast by Black Top Streetball Association. If you know who main event is from AN1, this is his baby.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely.
Well.
Also, thanks again to Robert Jeffries for making my theme song that this man right here has been singing and bobbing his head to, literally. It's very catchy. Very catchy.
It's easy to sing. It's a very easy sing.
Absolutely.
Keeping that real. It gives me what's that group? Make up to break up. It give me their vibes. I mess with it. I
like it. When I first heard it, I was definitely sold. Like, this is definitely me. I'm chill. I'm the vibe. So great. Let's get into this wonderful conversation of my first meeting with this young man was at Crab Karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
Our first meeting as a cast. So my assumption was when I saw him, he came with another man who I'm trying to get on the show as well. And I thought they were linebackers. I thought definitely they play football. Well, no, they don't.
Not at all.
Then the thing was, you had crab karaoke, so therefore you have to sing.
Just a little bit.
And sung, and he can dance. I said, well, what? That's why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Because I was way off. Way off. I was like, Not only do he sing, and then he dancing, and it wasn't just like a regular dance. I mean, he was really doing the ballroom, and we didn't do the
You from
Tamia.
De- you from Detroit. You got to move. You got to know how to move your feet if you're from Detroit. You know,
Well, unfortunately, everybody don't have rhythm. Okay.
it's this you know, it's a different Detroit we're living in now. So you know, everybody can't do it. I cannot do the Tamia because I'm convinced the Tamia hustle was designed by mistake. Somebody was tripping and somebody just they caught themselves and then stepped back up and somebody just caught on to it and they turned it to a dance. But that nobody knows how to do the Tamia hustle for real. You can't teach it. You just watch it and learn because yeah, it's not a real thing. I'm convinced.
I listen, people who really love the Tamia hustle, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't say it. He said that. I believe in you. I believe that is real. I don't
You
have nothing.
can't listen. You can't teach it. You can only learn it, and that's why I don't think it's a real thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's go back to when. Yeah, that's what I said.
Uh, well, this is that's a good question because I don't think anybody's ever called me special. Um, I guess sometime when I was younger, back when I was acting a lot more, I used to do a lot of theater. Um, when I was younger, I did a lot of theater. My mom used to always have me in a theater program for acting, singing, and dancing. Um, and so um, I think it was one of those years I did a summer theater intensive at Mary Grove College, and um, the teacher sent me to an invite only theater camp, and he could only have a handful of people who can go. It was me and like two other people. He sent us to an invite only theater camp where people from Broadway came to the music hall, and within a week we had to learn all of Oliver Twist and um, perform Oliver Twist. And I was like 11, 10 or 11, maybe 12. And yeah, I learned that. And the fact that it was like invite only and I was one of them that got chose, I was like, oh, I'm actually decent at this. So yeah, it just went on from there.
So was this something that you were doing at home, or your mom was just like, look, you're gonna get out and do something?
Um, I was always entertaining at home. So I have a big family. I got two brothers and three sisters. And so we always found a way to entertain each other. Um, but I was always like I'm the middle boy. It goes boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, and I'm the middle, the second boy. So um, I was always no pun intended, the middleman when it came like my older brother was like super mature and whatnot. My little brother was, you know, kind of way left, and I was like right in the middle. Like when I say way left, I mean like he was bad. Like he was getting whooped every other second, and I was in the middle. So like I knew just enough, knew how to do just enough. Like my brother was super mature, knew how to do just enough to not get in trouble, but not too much to always be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and I say that as far as like my entertainment and whatnot, like going out and entertaining, because you know when you kid, you're doing a lot, and it's cute at first, and then after a while, sometimes they be like, all right, now chill. Like we it was funny and cute for a second, but now stop before you get whooped. Um, so I knew where to draw that line. And it's stuck with me to this day. Like a lot of people be like, "Oh man, you're a comedian. You always on." I'm like, "Nah, like I'm. There's a time and place for everything." Because in the back of my head, my daddy gonna come out of nowhere and whoop me. But but yeah, no. Like I was doing that at home, and then I did a lot of church plays when I was younger, and then I guess my mom saw something that she really saw something in me as far as the talent goes, as far as me, you know, um being able to act and sing. Dancing wasn't on the plate at all. Like when I say I can dance, I can do taught moves and rehearsed moves, but I'm not like one of them just out here pop locking and you know, I ain't no Chris Brown. But if you teach me a dance routine, I can mess with it. But yeah, she saw something enough for her to just keep on putting me in different things. Like, no, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. And the cool thing about it was, you know, like when you're a kid and your parent puts you in a bunch of stuff, you feel like you're forced to do it. You know, I'm doing it because my mama made me do it. Like that's the one thing that I didn't ask to be in, but once I got into it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And since then, I've been Like I was acting before I did stand up comedy. I actually got into stand up comedy because of my acting and some actors that I knew that also did stand up comedy. So yeah.
That was one of my questions. So what came first? So you just basically told us your acting came first, then
Hmm.
comedy, and then we'll get into the other part of you. One thing about my show that I love the most is, usually when you go on something else or a different platform, they don't get all the questions to ask you your entire life. Like, who are you? Um,
Right.
it's easy for us to celebrate what you're doing now, but where were you when you were a kid? What were you doing in the middle of your story where I can appreciate where you are now? And this is where
Hmm.
I said, why I asked the question, like, when did you know that you were special or you're gifted to do what you do? Because everybody can't get on a stage. They might want to, but
Hmm.
there's the fear, the unknown that they won't do it. And
Yeah.
I always say that if you can make it in a church, you can pretty much make it anywhere.
You know, I thought that at first until
Mm,
I started doing comedy in churches and realized that churches are some of the easiest places to perform at if when they actually want you to be there.
okay.
Now, if it's one of those situations where the pastor and pressured the entire congregation, like, see, we don't do nothing because y'all don't never show up to nothing, so I need all of y'all to be here, or else, we ain't gonna do nothing no more. And then people just show up because the pastor say show up. But like doing stand up comedy, I gotten some of the best receptions at churches doing stand up comedy than I have anywhere else, and it's mainly because like it's churches that want the comedy to be there. Um, and I do clean comedy, so it's not like they don't have to worry about like, oh, is he gonna say this or is he gonna do that, or it's just you go in there. I say, tell my jokes and whatnot. Some stuff is, I wouldn't say it doesn't teeter the line, but at the end of the day, most of the time I'm doing comedy. I say most of the time, in front of all adults, and it's like we can act like there's certain things that you don't want to talk about, but we all adults here. Some stuff has happened in your life that the whole point of me being here is to make light of it, and so my motto is funny forgives. If it's funny enough, nobody gonna be offended by it or think nothing of it. So that's typically what happens. But yeah, no, I started off young in the church. Now I would say it's different about singing in the church. If you singing in the church, they are hard on you because you got to be able to sing in order to sing in the church, without being judged or talked about. If they it's one thing if they clap and say good job, but if they just say bless you afterwards, oh God bless you, you went up there, and that's when you probably need to get back to the lab and work on that voice a little bit more. You ain't got the oil for that. Um, but yeah, no, I started in the church. Did all the theaters or all the plays and stuff in church, and you know, yeah, that's churches where it wasn't that difficult for me at church. Um, but stepping out because I was comfortable in church. That's why it was a little bit more easier for me because I knew everybody there. Every 9 times out of 10, they were saying, like, "Oh, you need to get on that stage too. You can sing, little young man. You can. Oh, you just a little character. You need to get on stage." So it's like they were expecting me to go up there and do what I was doing at church. Um, but then just like you said, when you saw me, if I go out of the church and I'm doing something, you don't expect to see me going up there and start telling some jokes or whatnot because I'm sitting down, but for the viewers watching, this is not me flexing. I am 6'2", 250 pounds, so I'm not the typical looking comedian. Um, but because half the time I go to a place and they think I'm security, and then I go on stage and they just be like, "Oh, he's actually funny." Didn't expect to see that. Um, and that's where a lot of stuff came from me. Was like, all right, am I going to be funny enough for them to look over everything else about me? And so, yeah.
Well, again, I was definitely guilty of assuming that you were a football player. I had no clue, no idea. I was sitting there and I watched everyone. I was sitting there trying to figure out, like, who is he and why is he in this room? Because not did you say you tried to picture what an actor or actress would look like,
Mm-hmm.
But I did not expect you to be who you are in this particular play, nor was I expecting you in real life to be who you are beyond what you look like. So, yeah, guilty,
Yeah.
guilty as charged. So, of course, we can't really get into who we're playing, what we're doing per se in this stage play, but we have definitely been chosen, and I mean chosen, for our roles that we're playing in this stage play written by Kim Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, but is he saved? Um, we just had our first table read not too long ago, and the response that we had amongst each other, if we're acting like we're acting and we already knew what was about to be said and done, you guys as audience members, you are going to be in for a total treat. How did you feel about it?
Oh man, it was great. It was so one. There's a lot of talented people in this production. Because I read the script front to back, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm this is a good script. But then hearing somebody else say the lines I knew already was going to come up, or saying some things that I already knew was happening, hearing the different inflections because of who they are and how they deliver the lines, and this is just from the table read. There's no direction yet. I was just like, oh my god, like this is like this is ridiculous. Like how it was almost like reading it for the first time again. I'm like, did they alter the script at all? Did they change it? Is this a different script? But it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good time.
I'm gonna pin this and say, I'm gonna tell you guys, there are extras that are applying pressures to the person that's supposed to be doing the lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those stand-ins did they thing.
That's how good our our understudies are. As I'm like, oh, this,
Mm-hmm.
and we're
I said, I can't miss no rehearsals.
no,
I
not at
don't even know if I
all.
have an understudy, but if I did, I can't miss no rehearsals. Not about to take
Our
my job.
understudies, man, our understudies, the extras. I mean, no one's safe.
Nope.
No one
You
is
better
safe.
be off book. You better show up to these rehearsals. Like if you all it takes one mistake. It's funny because I was talking to Sean, the other gentleman you were talking about, that I showed up to the having karaoke with, and he was telling me about how that's exactly how he lost a role one time. And it wasn't even the first rehearsal. He was rehearsal. He missed one rehearsal, came back, and now he's understudy now. So there's a lot of talent out here. So that kind of leads into making sure, like, be as professional as you can. If you're not gonna be at a rehearsal, call them or whatever the case may be. But yeah, he told me he lost the role because he missed one rehearsal.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely applying the pressure, but it's also the role of commitment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Even if you wasn't getting paid for it, even if you accepted this, um, and I go back to, you were chosen for this. We might have thought, well, oh, this is just this, whatever. We don't know the bigger picture, what's going to happen, who's going to see you, whatever the case may be. Like we said, when we gave tips for each other, which I thought was very awesome. There's all different types of levels in
Mm-hmm.
this production. Newbies, somewhat, people who've been in things 50 million times. At the end of the day, it's no longer feeling like we're strangers. Our commitment to each other, our outings together. I didn't know we had so many nutcases in one production.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you got to be a little crazy to go on stage and be a totally different person in front of hundreds or thousands of people. Nobody. I always say that about any kind of entertainer who goes on stage, because at the end of the day, public speaking is still one of the top three biggest fears on the planet. So for you to go on stage in front of all these people, and you decide you want to turn into somebody different, the nerve of you for turning into somebody different and in front of all these people and performing your heart out when there's still people who scared to read out loud in public. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you got to be a little kind of crazy to to go on stage and do this. So
I never thought about it like that.
yeah, no, I remember. That's why I'm so. I don't want to say I'm tough on audiences, but like I appreciate any person who goes up and at least tries stand up comedy. Now, there's a certain level. Like if you're trying it out, that's one thing. But if you really want to pursue it as an art form, then there's a whole different level of accountability I hold you to. But with public speaking being one of the top three biggest fears in the world, and you're just going up there by yourself, trying to be funny, hoping that the things that you came up with in your head is going to make these people laugh, and you have no idea if it really is or not, that's commendable in itself. Even if you bomb, I respect bombs a lot of times because
You tried
it's
it. Right.
you try it. Um, it's like I said, is when you decide, "Oh, you know what, I want to do this for a living. I really want to do this," and that's where I hold you to a whole nother standard. But
Mhm.
if you're doing it as a hobby, I know a lot of people who do stand up comedy just because it helps them build the confidence for their actual job when they got to go uh, do do stuff at work. They got to present something at work. So just being able to tell jokes in front of people gives them that extra confidence to go into the boardroom and say stuff. Or I know actors that have no intention of being comedians, but them being able to become a different person on stage helps them out with their auditions. So
Mm.
you know, it's a totally different mindset when you really think about it like that.
Hmm. Never thought about it like that. Even to the point of uh, getting out there, and for me, for instance, it was trying something different. Um,
Hmm.
I came from my first, yes, I would say, was being a chorus member in Perilous Times. So once that was over, it was like, what's the next thing? Because now I got this itch. Like, okay, let's try something else. So I went out for a couple of auditions for some movies. I didn't get a call back, but I was like, okay, at least I can say I tried. Um,
Right.
and then it was, okay, I'm seeing some modeling things out. Let's go and try that. So I got a yes for that. And then I got again, the small world, from our other nutcase in the show, Larry. I met him at the movie audition. Neither one of us got a call back. However, my first time meeting him, he made me so comfortable in making jokes that I was like, whoever you are, I need you in my life, literally. And we've been cool ever since. We keep each other abreast on like auditions that's coming up. Any of those things we share. So he
Hmm.
had something for domestic violence. And he was like, Sunshine, can you come? And I'm like, okay, cool. So Kim Brooks ended up being one of the guests there. So
Mm.
while it's over, he's like, do you know Kim Brooks? I'm like, no, I don't. Am I supposed to know her? And he was like, I think you should. That I think this is a person you need to know. I'm like, okay. So I sit next to her and we're talking and we exchange. And she's like, Larry told me you can sing. So she's trying to get me on stage. But Larry was like, nah, not right now. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So we exchanged information. She was like, well, I'm getting ready to do a casting call for my play that's going to be in October. I'm like, okay. So she sends me the information. I get an email like, okay, auditions is going to be, I think, Mary Grove at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I go there and I tell Larry about it. He is like, now, how is that funny? I introduced you to her and you telling me about the audition. So long story short, Larry is in the audition. We're all in the hallway. It's Larry to my right, uh, Dr. Eddie Connor to my left, who is also in the play.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all sitting next to each other, had no clue, no idea that Larry and Eddie knew each other. They've been on shows together. I'm like, wait, what? I know both of you guys, didn't know that you guys knew each other. So now I'm really comfortable because now I'm with people that I'm comfortable with and that I know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no longer like, oh, I'm scared. No, I'm with friends. So when my turn goes for Kim to come in there, um, she's talking to me, asking questions, all of this different stuff. And I was like, you want me to sing since you wanted me to sing last time? And she was like, yeah, go ahead. I said, what do you want me to sing? And she's like, His Eyes on a Sparrow.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So I sung the song and my eyes is focused outward. I'm not paying attention to her. It's me and her in the room. But
Mm-hmm.
you can hear everything in the hallway. So I sing the song. She's crying. She's recording me. And her reaction to the whole thing was like, I knew I had this part. I leave out and Eddie and them was like, did you
They
get
was
it?
crying too?
I ain't saying all that, but they were like, did you get it? Because, man, you sound awesome. Da, 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 da. Long story short, we had to go back to, I think, Southfield. Where did we go for our
I
second?
know the audition I did because I missed the first one. I was where was I? I had to do a comedy show somewhere, so I missed the first one. Um, yeah, I want to say it was in like Farmington or something like that.
I think so. It was in Farmington, and I think it stormed that day because I was like, I
Yeah,
can't see. I don't know where I'm going. Is place tucked off somewhere? And I'm like,
yeah.
where is we at? So we go there, and this is the first time I see Mike. So she got me reading this part again. She was like, I want you to do a little bit more. I want you to play this part out. And I do it. And when I'm done, Mike rushes in the room thinking that I'm for real. Like something didn't happen. So she's like, no, 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 this is her doing this and this and that. From that moment on, I felt like this was it. This was, sometimes we get as creative or you go out for these parts that you get so close and then they don't choose you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I said, this time, I don't want to, this was so close. I want to be chosen. I want to be chosen.
Right.
And I think that Sunday she called me like, yeah, I got the part. And she had told me there was other people auditioning for my part.
Mm-hmm.
But I made sure you might not remember nobody's name, but you're going to remember mine.
So the crazy thing is, so there's multiple pieces of the story on how I got the part. So, and it's funny because you say like, we were chosen, and then it had to be all God because the way I got this part, the last thing I actually acted in was a play I did at the Redford Theater, and I want to say 2018. It was I can't remember it's called Ain't Too Proud to Beg by Michael Mann, I believe. Michael Matthews, I believe his name was. And I love that role because it was the first time ever in history and the only time ever in history they allowed me to play a villain. I was the antagonist, and it was a lady from my church came to see the play, and ironically, Bruh Man was in that play as well. So the lady from my church came to see the play. It was great. That was the last thing I acted in. It was 2018. Fast forward to this year, and also right after that play, I had just got the job to start working at LA Fitness as a personal training director, and that is where I met Kim Brooks. Is she came to LA Fitness? I signed her up for personal training. If anybody on here watching, was at the LA Fitness in Southfield, and I signed you for personal training. I apologize. I know some of them trainers was very trash, but I was just doing I had to feed my family. I apologize. So she I was always, being a personal training director, my job was one to make sure they were getting the training that they wanted. And two, just client retention, basically, just make sure they were happy. So every time she would come in, I was like, "Hey, Kim Brooks," and she was like, "Why you always say my full name?" I was like, "That's her name, Kim Brooks." So I can't just call her Kim. It's Kim Brooks. Like, it's got to be said together. But then I stopped working at LA Fitness, and fast forward to this year, um, she reaches out to me, and she was like, "Hey, I didn't know you were an actor." I said, "Oh yeah, I was acting before I did comedy." I said, "How did you find out I was an actor?" And she said, "A lady at your church is like a second mother to me, and she went to your play before and said that you were an actor. Can you come audition?" And I was like, "Sure." So I missed the initial two first auditions, but it was like two or three more roles she needed to fill. So when she was at the place in Farmington one of those days, I go in there. When I go in, I see Larry. Now I know Larry because Larry is there's a show called Hip Prov that another comedian puts on. Shout out to Tam White. Um, it is a show she infuses hip hop with improv, and Larry goes to almost every one of her shows because it's a good show. And it's a competition type show. I like to call it like whose line is it anyway with some hip hop in it. And he came to a few of the shows that I was on, and when I saw him, he was like, "Oh man, we hit it off right then and there. We started, talking." Then Kim asked me to come in to do my audition, and when I did the audition, um, one of my things I pride myself on is getting off book like super fast. I call myself the off book crook. So she made a mistake and only printed out one side. And so she was like, "Let me see if I got on my phone." I was like, "Hold on, let me see." I just looked at the side she had me read. I was like, "All right, I'm good." She was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I memorized it already." She was like, "You lying." I was like, "Go ahead." Did the whole audition, memorized it just like that. Um, and she was like, "Yeah, you're definitely gonna be in this production somehow, some way. I just don't know who it's gonna be." Um, and so just the fact that she was I didn't know she wrote plays. I didn't know she wrote a book or anything when I signed up for personal training. I just She was just somebody who came in to sign up for personal training. But then come to find out her second mother is, one of my church members. And the fact that I hadn't done a single play since 2018, and she was like, "You know what, Jason would be good for that role, or for good for you to audition." And I'm like, because I just been doing stand up comedy since. So, yeah. And then when she told me she had one more role to fill, I was like, "You know what, I know a guy," which is was Sean. Uh, and then just me and him actually getting cool is all God too, because he's another actor as well. A lot of people see us and like, "Oh, you guys know each other from the gym?" I was like, "No, I actually met him through acting. We just happen to be two dudes who work out."
That's
Who
is heck. Like
Yeah.
y'all play football. Like, wow. Who? What?
I said we walked in there looking like some wrestlers. Like this, like, this don't make no sense. And so
It don't.
yeah, and so I told him, I was like, "Hey," because he had stopped acting for a little while. I'm sure you can I'm sure he's going to come on the show, and when he does, he can elaborate on the story. But he's been in and out for a little while, and I've been trying to tell. I'm all about helping people. If this is something you really want to do, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you want to be a janitor or a trash man or whatever. If that is your dream, you really want to do it. I'm all about go for it. And if I have the ability to help you do it, or if I have the motivating words or whatever to get you there, I'm going to do whatever I can to help you get there. So there's no way you're going to tell me you want to be an actor, or you want to get back into acting, and I see you almost every day, and I'm not going to do things to help you become an actor. So I was like, "Hey, if you really want to do this, there's one more role left." I can text her and say, "I got somebody that could potentially fill this role." And it's funny because she was like, "Oh yeah, as long as he can pull off looking 30." And I'm like, "How old do you think the people I hang out with are?" And I was like, "How old do you think I am?" Because I don't hang out with old people like that. Um, But yeah, so he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," and that's how he got his audition. But it's just crazy. Like I said, it has to be God, where it's just like how everything just lined up the way it did. Because there's like I would have never thought that Kim Brooks wrote plays. She probably would have never thought she didn't think that I acted. She thought I just did comedy. Um, and so yeah, it was just the way everything happened. It's all God.
Everyone that's the stories that I've heard so far, um is definitely a God thing, because a lot of the people in here are God fearing, or they
Hmm.
they're ministers, elders, all of those type of things are in our cast, literally, um, which is pretty cool too. And of us again interacting with one another, and of course, the more we get together, the more it's going to be like water. Like,
Right.
we
Just.
already cool as it is, but
Hmm.
um, when we went glow bowling, you seen more of. There are a few of us who are fillers. What do I mean by that? Who might not be as outgoing as others, but there are a few of us in here who make everybody else comfortable, or give them that opportunity to come out of their shell. Um,
Hmm.
and the more activities that we have and the more time we spend with each other, um, they'll stay out their shell, because we make it comfortable for everyone in the room. um, Now, we talked about your comedy. We'll get back to that. We've talked so far about your acting, which was the first thing.
Hmm.
Let's go into your personal trainer, because again, my assumption was that you play football.
Well, um, I kind of got to talk about all three of them at the same time because one thing led to the other, which led to another. Um, because acting got me to comedy, comedy got me to personal training, and then personal training got me to better opportunities with comedy. Um, so like I said, I started off acting, and I was on the set of a movie called Real Steel. At the time I started working out, because I was not always the size I am now. I used to be skinny. I was a freaking string bean, and because I was always 6'2" for the longest, but before I started working out, I was like 140 pounds. Um, and I always really wanted to work out. I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to get muscles and everything because I'm a nerd at heart. So while reading comic books, watching cartoons, seeing all the superheroes and stuff, I'm like, I want to be able to do stuff like that, except as a human. And so I started working out with some dudes who played football. So they knew more than I did, but they didn't really know what they were doing. Um, and my older brother decided he wanted to be a personal trainer, so he got a degree in exercise science. And I was kind of like a guinea pig for him. And that's when I started working out the right way. Because the guys before, this is just a little tidbit for the people who are watching. Uh, any kind of athletics up until the college level, and then depending on the college, they're not teaching you proper form, proper technique. They call it the BFS program, bigger, faster, stronger. They're trying to get you to lift the heaviest weights as fast as you can and get you stronger so that you can play for whatever position. Um, and that's what training is. They train you to do whatever it is. You're training your body to do what it is that it needs to do. So they were trained to play football, but then they stopped playing football. But that's all they knew. But now, like, both of them were working at a grocery store with me. Why are you working out to play football when you're a cashier at a grocery store? Doesn't make sense. The workouts aren't going to be as beneficial. So they were doing things like that, and I was wondering why. Like, all right, why is my knee always hurt, or why is my back hurting and stuff like that? It's because I wasn't training to live a regular, ordinary life. And when I started working out with my brother, he started, teaching me different things. I was like, okay, this is all makes sense. But then my brother got hurt. He was working out with somebody, and he ended up tearing his pectoral muscle. So his chest muscle got torn right off the bone. He got surgery. He couldn't do anything. So that's when I started learning for myself. I didn't at the time I was a certified personal trainer. I just was learning things from reading or whatever. Um, so when I started doing comedy after the actor, I was on the set of Real Steel. The guy was telling me, "Hey man, you're funny." His name is Charlie Newhart. Shout out to Charlie Newhart. Uh, he was a stand-up comedian and an actor, and he was like, "Hey man, you're funny. You need to start trying stand-up comedy." So he took me out to do stand-up comedy for the first time. I did not do good. Um, I'm not even gonna lie to nobody and be like, "Oh yeah, I was a natural out the gate." I've been doing stand-up comedy for 10 years, and probably the last 5 years is when I got actually funny for real. Um, so doing comedy, I met another comedian. His name was Jay Wright, and he worked at LA Fitness. And so he was telling me, he was like, "Hey man, if you need something else to supplement your income," at the time I was working at the Gordon Food Service warehouse, so I was, moving a lot of heavy stuff, and I was getting hurt a lot, like my back, my knees, things were happening. And he was like, "Hey man, if you want to save your body and come work at the gym where you can work out all the time, LA Fitness is hiring." So I started working as the personal training director at LA Fitness. Um, towards While I was at LA Fitness, that is where a lot of doors started opening for me. I actually, at one point, a lot of people don't know this, but I have the video proof. At one point in time, I was the trainer to Delicious. I was training Delicious, um, from Flavor of Love and everything. And so that is what really opened up the doors. So once I started training her, she was posting it to her Instagram. I was training her at her house, and a lot of people, I just got a whole bunch of traffic coming towards me. Like, "Hey, I want to, train with you, but I don't have Delicious money." I'm like, "You don't even know how much Delicious is paying." So,
For the record, I went to high school with her.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know how she was in high school, but the perception people have of her is not at all what I got from her. She was a very cool and kind person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Class
yeah,
Jason Osborne.
hmm, yeah, I was, when I trained her, I was training the first thing in the morning, and she was like 5 in the morning, and she was still like, she wasn't like a grumpy person that, like, I train people at 8 a.m. and people come in like, "It's too early for this." Like 5 in the morning, she was just up like, "All right, let's get it." And so, yeah, so I trained her. That opened a lot of doors, and it got to a point with my personal training where I personally felt like I was outgrowing LA Fitness, but personal training wasn't my passion enough for me to be like, "All right, I'm going to leave LA Fitness and do it on my own." I found that my passion was more so for helping people than it was personal training. Um, because the most satisfying clients I had were the ones that came in with real problems. And not saying I don't enjoy training people who, just like, "Oh, I just want to lose my stomach." But like, I would always do an assessment with people or consultation, and I would talk to them about why they really want to lose weight, why they really want to change the shape they were in, why they really want to gain some muscles or tone up or whatever. And they would have LA Fitness would call it the people's X factor. They say you find that X factor and you just hammer away at that X factor until you get that emotional response that gets them to buy the personal trainer. So for anybody who is going to any assessments at LA Fitness, that's what they're going to try to do. It's not wrong. It's just the selling part of it was what I hated. I liked helping people. I hated selling personal training. Um, and so when I was there, a lot of people had the X factor. "Oh, I got a vacation coming up," or, "Oh, I got this," which is fine. But then there's the people who are like, "The doctor said if I don't lose weight, then expect to be on some medication within the next 6 to 8 months," or, "The doctor said I may need a knee or a hip replacement sometime soon, and I don't want that," or, you know, "I'm trying to avoid getting surgery because the doctor said that my health is so bad that I need to lose this weight, or else, I may be in the box soon." And the ones that actually dug deep and found a way to pay for it or found a way to commit no matter what they had going on in their life, those were the ones that I was just like, "You know what? Makes me feel like what I'm doing is worth doing as far as personal training goes." So then at the end of 2019, I decided, and this is a whole nother God thing, I decided I want to do stand-up comedy full time, but I was like, I don't want to I don't want to quit LA Fitness on like such a bad note because they had did something that I wasn't a fan of. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to sell as much training as possible. They're going to be like, Jason, you're so great. And I'm like, yes. And I quit. But God don't let you leave out with your pride so high. Um, he will forever make you be humble in some way. So at the time, I was doing I used to put together a comedy show. It was an annual comedy show. It was called This Should Be a Comedy Special. And I did it 3 years in a row, took a year off, and I was about to do it again. And I was like, I want to do it big this time. I want to have it at an actual theater. And the whole purpose of that comedy show was to get comedians from here, from Detroit, that were just as funny as comedians you would see on TV, but put them on a theater type stage. Because most comedy shows you see here with local comedians, you have to go to a restaurant, a bar, someplace that has a comedy night, but you'll rarely see like unless they've moved out of here and came back, a theater like the Fox or the State Theater or something like that that will just book a local comedy show. And so I got the Redford Theater. A few of my homeboys helped me get the deposit to book the Redford Theater. And at the time, I was looking for funding for this show because it takes a lot of money to pay for the venue, the comedians, the sound system, all that good stuff. And so my my homeboy was like, hey, I know a guy who may be interested in investing or sponsoring. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna meet with him. The same day I was supposed to meet with him, like I said, I already been praying about leaving LA Fitness. I want to do comedy full time. My pastor pulled me out in front of everybody at church one time, and he was like, whatever it is, God's telling you, just do it. But when you do it, you got to eat, sleep, and breathe that thing. You can't just sit here and hope they call you. You got to be doing this like it's an actual job. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, that's what he's telling me. And so I'm sitting here like, all right, I'm going to quit as soon as I get X amount of money or whatever's going on. I save up such X amount of money. I'm going to quit after that. But then there's a day where my boss was like, hey, we need you to be here at 8:00. I'm not supposed to start work till 9. And I had to take my daughter to school, and she wasn't even allowed in the building until 8:30. And so I said, I'll get there as soon as I can, but I can't be there at 8. And he was like, well, you're going to be there at 8 or it's going to be a problem. So then there was a problem because I was not there at 8:00. I took my daughter to school, came straight there. I got there at like 8:45. Long story short, he goes off on me, tells me to take the day off. I'm like, cool, I can go to this meeting without having to worry about getting back here. Mm-hmm. So I go to the meeting and I meet with the guy. I'm talking to him, giving my whole spiel about the show, talking numbers, did all the analytics and everything. And he was like, so basically you want me to sponsor? I was like, yes. He was like, so when I sponsor, I give you money, I don't get no money back. I was like, technically, yes. He was like, I don't want to do that. How much is it going to cost to put the whole show together? I said, depending on the marketing, as low as $10,000. He was like, okay, I'll just give you the money and we'll split it on the back end. And so the whole show got paid for and everything just from, and at that point I was like, all right, God, that was a sign for me to quit LA Fitness right then and there. So quit LA Fitness, did the show. That's when I won, like right after that was, when I won the Metro Times Award for Best Comedian in 2020. However, if you remember, 2020 is when the world was shut down. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that was more like the bubble championship, the championship LeBron won when everything shut down and they took everything off. Because there was like 3 comedy shows that year before the world shut down, and I was on 2 of them. So it was like, oh, well, Jason is a name that I know, so I'll vote for him. Not trying to take anything away from myself, but it was, not a lot of comedy going on, and I just did this show. It was a blessing because it also gave me a lot of opportunities, and it gives me the opportunity to say in 2020, I was voted the best comedian in Detroit. So the pandemic happens, no comedy's going on except for Zoom shows and things like that. And it kind of evened out when the world started opening back up. It kind of evened out the playing field because a lot of venues who used to do comedy shows were, they didn't have the budget to book, a super expensive show. So a lot of the comedians, like the big name comedians, had to take a pay cut or just take the money that somebody like me, somebody like me would have to take. And so there wasn't as much work for me. So I just, I was like, all right, I'll go to open mics here and there. But I needed money. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to what I actually know how to do, and that is personal training. And so I didn't have a gym to train at. I just had some adjustable dumbbells, some resistance bands, and things like that. There's a football field down the street from my house, and I was doing Facebook Live workouts during the whole pandemic just to get people to be able to move around while they're at the house. And so I put on there, I was like, hey, if anybody is open to doing real life workouts, I'll be at this football field. Come on down. And I had a handful of people that turned into, I had like 3 people, turned into 6 people, turned into 14 people. And then I'm like, all right, it's about to get cold outside. Well, one, it's 14 people. I can't just stop training now because, I was a little too invested. But then I was like, it's getting a little cold outside. We're going to have to find a place indoors, but I really don't want to pay too much. And one of my clients, who was a therapist, had a office suite in Westland, and she was like, hey, I got a vacant office in this suite. If you can make something happen in there, you can use that space. And so I went there, and I was like, listen, I can make something happen anywhere. I'm a genius. I can make it happen. So I went in there. I was training, ended up getting more people, and that it really took off from there. That's also how me and Sean started training together. Is I ended up, I signed a lease for a year with her to sublease out of there. And when that year was just about to be up, Sean had called me and asked me, he was like, hey man, I see you're still training. You need, you think about getting to a bigger place or anything? I was like, yeah, but I'm not trying to spend bigger place money. He was like, come on down here, train with me. And so it was like literally down the street from where I was already at. And me and Sean have just been training together ever since. And so, that's the best thing about personal training is just the fact that I know I'm helping people. That my background is really corrective exercise. Training Delicious was a blessing and a curse because now it's like, yeah, I want to get in shape. And yeah, I got these knee problems, but I also want a flat stomach and a big behind. And I'm like, that's all I'm known for. Somebody called me the certified booty builder. That is my nickname in the fitness world. And I'm like, I can also make sure that your knees don't crack when you bend down. That is also one of the things I pride myself on doing. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's my personal training story.
Definitely talk afterwards because well, my husband already knows if I ever had money. And so all these deaths and stuff, I was always talking about, yeah, I want a booty, da 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 da. And then, there's knees that's going on to be, hold on, give me, the rock. Then I'm
That
getting
before you stand up.
yes, that part. Then there's, conditions in your body that I definitely don't want to be a part of any longer. Nor, as we talked earlier, doctor said this, doctor said that, and I don't accept none of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that when people say like, oh, why should I go to the gym? Because they didn't have gyms back in the day. Like, well, they also didn't have office jobs back in the day. They were on their feet and moving heavy stuff all day. If you talk about from the Bible times to all the way up until technology came and started taking over, manual labor was what everybody was doing. So as long as you were eating right, even if you just went to work and came home, mostly healthy for the most part. But now that we have these jobs where we're sitting down, we're real sedentary, and then we come home and mentally we're exhausted from work, so we go home and sit down some more. And if you do nothing, nothing changes. So it's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. But that's a totally different conversation.
well, you definitely helping somebody. If nobody else get it, I definitely get it. Um, it is at a point, to be honest, as you can see, I keep shifting because literally my back is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's a moment now where you realize that you need help, and it's okay to say you need help. Like, um, it's crazy or insane to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different, and it's not going to be different. So
Mm-hmm.
at this point, I was never a gym person, even when I had to in high school, and I was an athlete. I hated gym. So
Mm-hmm.
is the change of the mindset again to be in a place where somebody really cares and know what they're doing to help better yourself.
Yeah.
Again, there's a reason that we met. Uh, is all God. Um, again, from being into this production, of course, um, having these conversations with some of the awesome people in this world. Going back to 2020 when everybody was tired of being at home. At the time, I was an essential worker, so I didn't have time off. And so
Mm.
I was concerned with us. Was anybody checking in? Was do you need some help? Do you need something? Um, and so that conversation began. Let me call and reach out to somebody I haven't talked to or I haven't seen. I don't know what's going on, but I want you
Mm-hmm.
to know that I care. And so those conversations led to this conversation, um, that we find out that we are more alike than we are different, but you'll never know that until we talk.
Never know.
Never know.
Never know.
So you have been a prime example of, again, not judging a book by its cover, because I assume wrong. But even in that conversation, I would say the gentle giant that makes everybody laugh. Definitely, if you are anywhere around him while he's bowling, I pray for those pins every time. He was supposed to be rolling the ball, but
Listen, listen. When you can't bowl and you have no proper form or technique, you got to rely on what you got. You got to rely on your strengths. And my strength is strength. So, my goal is my strategy, which I think is a good strategy, is find the the lightest ball that my fingers can fit in, and throw it as hard as I can down the lane and hope it goes straight.
as I stated before, our cast is full of nutballs. And if you saw us together, all I can tell you is get some tissue because you will be crying from laughing so hard. Another person that, well, everybody eventually I would try to get on the show, but Paul Dean is, I think, my twin. Um, like we were literally doing the exact same thing, not rehearsed or anything. And I'm like, is he my twin? Or I never
Mm,
knew that existed. And, however, again, this has been one of the greatest conversations of letting people know to not only follow your passion. You might not understand it, when you're young and, life just happens. But if you continue to follow the plan, not your
hmm
plan, but God's plan, He'll always write or put you in the right direction, connect you to the right person for those seasons to get you to where He needs you to be. One of those things, um, Eddie Connor, I met him years ago. He was selling books at one of the previous ministries I was at. Fast forward, run into him again. I'm like, I already know you. He like, you do? I'm like, yeah. And so the conversation, we get on the show and he tells me about his life journey with stage 4 cancer as a teenager.
mm,
And you can imagine someone having cancer for one, let alone
right.
a teenager, to the point you don't know if you're going to live or you're going to die. Um, and to hear his story, to see how God shifted him to, I think he has over 16 best-selling books today.
Mm,
And his conference was identity. I'm gonna sit up on this one. So his question in this conference was, how long are you gonna make people wait on you being you? They can't be them without you. If I didn't take nothing else that he said that day, which was an awesome conference, because I don't normally do that, but I felt led to go. Your identity. Somebody is waiting on you. Jason, there was people waiting on you. One of them was Kim Brooks, waiting on you.
Yep.
Sean, waiting on you.
So I had I'll be remiss if I didn't say two more things. One, all the doors open for me because my pastor's wife, she had told me one day, just walking out the parking lot into the parking lot one day, and she had stopped me and she was like, God said, as long as you keep him first, every door is going to open for you that you want to open. Comedy, acting, whatever, keep him first. But prior to me quitting LA Fitness, prior to all of that stuff happening, the sermon that got my mind going, actually it was a sermon before I quit, was her preaching about how God is waiting on you to take that first step. He may not give you the entire story, the entire plan. He'll give you the first part, and the next part may be depending on you stepping out. She said that she gave the example of, let's say you want to start a company, but you don't have the funding, but you have the materials to start off a little bit. You may not have the money to turn and make something huge, but God has told somebody else, bless somebody. There's going to be somebody who starts this business, and you need to bless them with the money to get all the stuff that they need. But if you never take that step to get into their view, for them to know that you're doing it, to know that you want to start this company, to whatever it is, how are they going to be able to bless you if you're just sitting around doing nothing? And I'm a firm believer of God giving the same idea to multiple people, but if he gave it to you first, he's giving you the opportunity to make it happen before he gives somebody else the passion to make the opportunity happen. I'm a firm believer in that. There's been plenty of times I sat on ideas. I was a great idea when I had it, sat on it, and a year later, I've seen it happen somewhere else. And I'm like, it could have been the fact that I personally believe that God gave me the idea. I took too long with it. So he gave somebody else the idea and the drive. They just happen to have the drive to follow through with that idea. And so, like you said, somebody is waiting on you to be you. I don't know who's watching this. Somebody needs to hear this. I don't even know if people are commenting. I didn't hit the button to see, but somebody needs to hear this. Somebody is waiting on you to be you and to in the arena that you need to be in. So, if you don't take that step, if you're still inside the house and you don't step out on the porch, how your neighbors even know that you even there to be that person? You know what I'm saying? You gotta walk through the door for people to know you in the room.
Absolutely. There was my pastor, Rosalind Smith of God's Universal House of Prayer. She preached twice on Sunday. And I've heard her since last August. Matter of fact, this past August was a year that I've been with her. I've heard her preach, but it was like Sunday, my ears got unstuck, unplugged. I don't know what happened, but her sermon was, it's not always going to be like this.
Listen, God will sometimes have them say something like right on time.
It was her story came from the part about the lame man where his friends would take him to the gate, the beautiful gate, every day and just lay him there. And sometimes you got to get into a place, yes, God, that you got to get away from everybody who you think
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the one, most likely ain't the one, right? You would think, and one of the main things she kept saying, well, if we really friends, I would think you wouldn't just lay me at the gate. You would take me in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. And he been like this for years. It's like, here, I want some money. I want some change. He was like, silver and gold, I don't have. I can't give you this. But a change, I got. What
Mm-hmm.
is it? Right? So you got to get into a place where you got to receive the change in
Yep.
order for you to get all the change. So
Absolutely.
that moment of following the instructions, following your passion, he gave it to you. Why are you fighting it? Why are you running from it?
Mm-hmm.
He
Why
gave.
you stalling?
Why are you stalling? What you waiting on? So
There's never gonna be a perfect opportunity.
never.
Everybody's waiting on that perfect opportunity. Once this lines up and this lines up and this happens, then I'll be in a good shape to do that. Like, no. When it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time to at some point, because like I said, it's never gonna be a perfect opportunity. You know, they say it's never the right time to say goodbye. You have to just when God says go, you got to go. Just like he did with the majority of his disciples. Leave your family and everything behind and just come with me. It you got to be ready to go. You got to be
Absolutely.
ready to go. And even if you're not ready, you got to do it anyways. Do it scared,
Do it
do it
scared.
unprepared. Because if you really believe that God it's something that God wants you to do, He gonna provide everything you need and everything you need financially, everything you need emotionally, everything you need mentally, everything you need physically. God is gonna be able to bring that to you as you go. You're gonna be scared. You're gonna be nervous whatever the case may be. You know, first time I got on stage, I I'm always nervous before the fact. Like before I on my way there, once I get there and I sit there long enough, I get comfortable. But I'm always nervous before the fact. Like I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna tell these jokes. Because I travel all over. You know, I'm from Detroit. I'm African American, but I do shows out in all the way in doggone Durand, Michigan, or Paw Paw, Michigan, where I will be the only black person there. So not only am I nervous about my set, I'm nervous about my safety as well. Um, so there's all that, but in that time, I always have like I'll be on the phone, listening to music, whatever, trying to keep my mind off of it. But at some point, I always give myself 10 minutes to just turn everything off and just be quiet and drive and just let God just calm me down. And in that moment, that's when it's just like, all right, this is gonna be a good show. This is gonna be a good time. I always pray that I touch somebody, God touches somebody's life, and I leave a positive imprint in their life. And so, you're not always gonna be ready. I didn't know I was ready to start headlining. I got my first headlining gig at a comedy club this year at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. It just happened back in July. I had headlined. I wouldn't even say headline because sometimes you're just the last person. Because it's if I'm doing a show at a banquet hall, technically I'm the headliner if I was the last person. But the requirement to headline a comedy club, especially since it's one of the most renowned comedy clubs in the country, I had to do at least 45 minutes of comedy. The standard for comedians is, make somebody laugh every 30 seconds. You should be getting a reaction out of somebody. When you get to that level of headliner, every 30 seconds or less, you should be getting a reaction, whether it's laughter, the oohs, the ahs, or whatever it is, every 30 seconds. Like, you should never leave them just sitting there waiting for you to say something. And I had no idea I was ready for that. I spent a whole weekend making people laugh the entire time. Kim Brooks actually came out to one of those shows, but didn't know I was ready for it until I actually did it. But the fact that they asked me and I didn't send in any video or audition for it. The person who books the club reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do it?" So some point, even though I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm ready," the person who books the comedy club and somebody put it to me like this: "There's only 52 weekends in a year." So whoever booked that comedy club thought that I was one of the 52 best people to headline that comedy club for the entire weekend. And that's what made me think, like, what did they saw something in me that made them feel like I was ready to headline this comedy club. Whether I realized it or not, they saw it. And when I
Mm-hmm.
went out there, not only did I do good, so I did phenomenal. I ain't gonna hold you up. I'm very, I be humble with my comedy, but sometimes I just got to my own horn. I did my thing that weekend. Um, but for it to be the 4th of July weekend, it was a huge turnout. Like, I think 3 out of the 4 shows I did had over 200 people in there for the
Wow.
4th of July weekend, where it was nice outside. It was a holiday weekend. Still was able to generate that many people to come in. So, I didn't know I was ready for that.
Right.
However, God knew I was ready for that, and He put me in a position like, hey, you're a headliner now. That's what another comedian told me. He was like, listen, you're a headliner. You need to start acting like a headliner. Like, yes, it's cool you want to do shows with your friends. It's cool you want to do these other things, and that's fine. But if your goal is a headline comedy club, you just headlined one of the oldest comedy clubs in the country, one of the most respected comedy clubs in the country. That was a comedy club that put Tim Allen on. That's the comedy club that discovered Tim Allen and got him basically made him famous. And it was like, you just headlined there. So if that's the case, if this is what you wanted to do, you're there now, and you need to realize it. Don't take your mind back to, oh yeah, I'll open for this person, I'll feature here, I'll host here. Like, no, you've headlined at a comedy club. Now you're a headliner. And coming from that perspective, it's like I did not know I was ready for it. I didn't even realize I was there until he said that. But God did. Like I said, I've been doing comedy for 10 years, even though the last 5 years are where I feel like I've developed the most and I got more funny. There's still those first 5 years were still useful. They were still something. There's plenty of times I could have been like, oh, I'm not getting booked. I'm not as funny as I want to be. I should just quit. But opportunities kept coming up, even though they weren't big opportunities. There were opportunity enough for me to realize I'm being noticed. Somebody sees something. I need to do, I should keep going. Like there were signs for me to don't stop, keep going, don't stop, keep going. And now, like I said, I'm headlining now.
Oh, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
So, my heart main event is on here watching you right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's on here. Um, Alita, are you still here? So, Alita does ginger and turmeric teas.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I will shout out later. But my point with her was she yes. So we're drinking her teas like it's water.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna need to get some of them.
Yes, you do. You would be addicted like me. So, however, Kira Shear, the gospel princess,
Mm-hmm.
drinking her teas. Um, some of Erica Peoples, the actress,
Mm-hmm.
was drinking her teas. I said, honey, you don't know what type of doors these gonna go. Cause we wasn't just drinking it because it came from you. We was drinking it because it's a good product.
Mm-hmm.
And your service is awesome. I said, you if you don't do nothing else, this right here is what definitely God gave you for real.
Mm-hmm.
Run with it. Run with it. I can go into the grocery store and do ginger and turmeric myself. But when I did make it didn't taste like this. I promise you it didn't. You up early in
Mm-hmm.
the morning brewing while I'm asleep. Somebody got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody has to do it.
That's the thing. God didn't give you the recipe for it.
He sure didn't.
God didn't give you, like, See, this is why I gotta stop myself because there's a lot of people telling me, "Oh, you're gonna preach one day," and I gotta stop myself so somebody watching, be like, "Oh, he gonna preach," because that's not what I want. And my brother keep telling me is like, "Yeah, the more you run from it, the more it's gonna come for you."
it it ain't about what you want, sir.
I know, but
Um, it is, and then the thing is, because you minister, because the word is in you, because all these different things doesn't mean you're gonna be behind the pulpit. What you bring to the gym, what you bring in your comedy, what you bring and what you do is your ministry. This is where people get it mixed up. And
hmm
I want to do this. He made you for a reason. Again,
absolutely.
how long are you gonna make me wait, Jason? How long are you gonna make me wait? I'm just wondering.
Oh, you talking about me? Oh,
Yeah, you the only one on here named Jason.
uh, you know that is. I say I don't want to preach because everybody say preaching. I'm like I don't want to preach, but I am a firm believer, and I do completely understand that what I do is a ministry. Like I said, some of my most satisfying clients is the people that I feel like I actually help. Some of the most satisfying shows are people who actually came into the comedy show with something going on, something heavy in their life. And afterwards, they come up to me and tell me, like, for that 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes you was on the stage, I forgot all about it.
Absolutely.
And it's like the Bible says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You know, that medicine, the medicine I just gave them 30 minutes of relief from whatever problems they had while they were there. I had
Absolutely.
a young lady came up to me after the show one time and she was like, listen, you stood out because you were clean and you had me cracking up. However, this is the first time I went out since my husband passed away 8 months ago. My friends dragged me out and I hadn't been doing much of anything except for, staying with my kids, doing things with my children. But for that, I think at this show, I only did like 10 minutes. So it was like, for that 10 minutes you were on the stage, like it was just focused on you and laughing. I didn't, because it was just the things you were saying were so funny, so relatable. And it was just exactly what my soul needed. So you got a fan for life. I'm just like, this is why all this time I'm trying to say, well, I got to do this so I got money, so I can support my family, I can do this. But shows like that is like, no, this is why you're doing it. My goal is still my purpose is still to help people.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is most people think their purpose is for themselves. Your purpose is not for you. Your purpose is for somebody totally different. Your purpose, you're put on this earth. The Bible, if Jesus came not to be served, but to serve, what do you think you here for? You
You
know what
talking?
I'm
You
saying? I'm talking to everybody, whoever whoever want to answer. If
you
Jesus came here to serve, what do you think you're here for? You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is your purpose is in life, if it is only self gratification, that is not your purpose. Your purpose is to help somebody else in some way, somehow, or help some other group of people somehow, some way, somehow, uh, for the glory of God. That's at the end of the day. That is what your purpose is on this planet. So, oh yeah, I got all this money. I did this. That's why so many celebrities in Hollywood are committing suicide. They're not satisfied because that's not their real purpose. That's their passion, but it's not their purpose. They're doing all these things. They drinking, they smoking. All you hear the pastor say it all the time. Oh, they got all this money, but they still drinking, smoking. They just trying to get out, get their headspace. They trying to be somewhere different mentally all the time. It's because they're not fulfilling their purpose. And until they do that, they're not going to get that real fulfillment in their life.
you better preach.
See, this is what I'll be talking about.
Ooh, you better.
Because that
So,
purpose, your purpose, like if you're an actor, you say, "Oh, I'm an actor because I want to get millions of dollars," and you just be in anything that any script they throw at you, you say, "Yes, I'm gonna do that. Yes, I'm gonna do that." That's your passion. But if you specifically choose what roles you're gonna pick, like I don't know if you heard the story about Denzel Washington, but he said in Training Day he was supposed to stay alive at the end of it. But he said he did so much bad stuff in that movie, he could not stay alive. He said he didn't want to send that kind of example. He said, I have to die at the end of this movie. I have to. And so every time he plays a villain, he says the same thing. Every time I play a villain, I have to die because I'm not doing this for a check. I don't want people morally. I can't give off the sign that I think it's okay to do all this stuff and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so his purpose, and I've heard him talk plenty of times. He knows that his purpose at the end of the day is to not just provide people with an entertainment, but to kind of give them that. How do I want to put it? Uh, he's not doing it for the money. Basically, he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it because, like, even when he first started, he said he had no backup plan. He didn't believe in a backup plan. He's like, if I wanted the money, I would have done it I would have become an engineer. But he decided he just wanted to have no safety net and just act. And the more he did, you notice as he gets older, the more mature, the roles he picks aren't as, I don't want to say devious, but in Devil in the Blue Dress, he ain't no devil in the blue dress no more. Now if he's a bad guy, he dies. Booker Eli, if I'm not mistaken, he said that was a huge passion project for him, because of the fact that the spiritual aspects to it and everything.
And he was blind.
And he was blind, so he picks and chooses his roles a certain way now. And he says himself, he's like, I don't just pick any script. He's like, I get scripts all the time, so I choose what I want to do, not just because of my time and whatnot, but because of what I want to put out there that has my name on it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so, yeah,
we can't. Those who are chosen can't do what everybody else is doing.
Nope.
It just don't work out for us. We can't be the ones, skating and doing all this other stuff. You'll be the one that get caught. It happens all the time.
All the time.
We just, people are waiting on us. Even for myself, this hits home. Even when I wanted to quit, then I get an inbox like, I love your platform. I love the people that come on, and they tell their stories. Again, you won't get this on CNN or ESPN or any of those other shows, because they only having conversations with you for what they know you for, with you as the whole person. What is a balanced life for you?
So I actually have been thinking about that lately. I have found the mentality that I have at the moment is there's no such thing as complete balance, because something has to take precedent. There's not necessarily a balanced life, but there is I'm thinking of a word. It's not a balanced life. I'm thinking it's a synonym to complete, because I don't want to say complete, because there's always especially when you have different goals, there's always something more that you want or something different that you want. But for lack of better terms at the moment, a complete life. There's no such thing as balance to me, in my opinion. Because something has to take precedent. Case in point, I train, I act, I do comedy, and then, little known fact, as of lately, I've been doing overnight security at Delta Airlines, right? I as well as having a family, and owning a house, right? If I gave everything the same energy, my daughter probably would not be satisfied, because my daughter, she's 9. She requires a little bit more time from me than, let's say, a lot of my clients. Or sometimes not the amount, it's the quality. But at the same time, how good of a quality time will I be able to give my daughter if I'm at work all the time? Right? Not only because I'm tired mentally, I'm tired physically. With personal training, a lot of times, one of the bigger things in personal training that I have to deal with, it has nothing to do with the physical aspect, is mentally. People, like, anything that I tell somebody to do physically, they can do it. mentally they got to get over that mental block saying, oh no, I can't do it. And it's only because they've never done it before or they've tried in the past and have failed without a trainer. So now I'm spending all this energy convincing people all morning that you can do it, you are good enough, you can do this. And then a lot of times they'll just come in because, you know, like I said with LA Fitness, their X factor is really bothering them that day. You know, whether it be, you know, I've had people who had goals as far from uh wanting to get in shape because somebody has said something, somebody that they care about said something to them, and it really made them feel self-conscious, to, you know, a medical issue. So they may come in and say, oh, I thought I was losing weight, I thought I was doing good, but the doctor told me they still want me to stay on this medication, and now I have to deal with that. I gotta, you know, because I'm a firm believer, and there's actually science to prove this, and I believe spiritually you can prove this, that if your mind ain't right, your body ain't gonna follow. If your unhealthy mind is gonna create an unhealthy body. If you have a lot of negativity going on in your mind, you're gonna have your body is gonna respond to whatever you do negatively. That's gonna be the difference between your heart rate raising because you upset while you're working out, your heart rate going through the roof because your anxiety is up, your cortisol levels are going up, or if you're having a good time, you're in a good headspace, your body is actually losing weight and burning calories from where it's supposed to be burning from. And like I said, there's science to prove that, but there's this totally different topic, totally different podcast. So I have to deal with that all morning, and then I go home, and my daughter is having a bad day as well. It is very difficult to be able to bounce back and forth between all of that, right? So that's where boundaries have to be created in certain areas. So it's like, all right, I can only do X, Y, and Z with these clients. I'm only going to talk to them about X, Y, and Z. I'm only going to spend this much time with them about this because my daughter requires more time than they do, right? Even with the acting, comedy, and personal training. I've been personal training more at the moment. Well, I've been doing stand-up comedy more than anything at the moment. And that is why my stand-up comedy has been taking off. I have not been acting as much, which is why this is the first production I've done since 2018. I personal train every day, which is why I consistently have clients. So, you know, even with the time, and then once again, like I said, I still got a family and everything. So I don't believe in balance. I believe in priorities. Whatever is the highest priority is going to get the best results out of whatever it is you're doing. It's getting dark out here. We've been talking for a while. Let me turn this light on. Mm-hmm. Am I better now? There we go. But yeah, so it's whatever has the highest priority, whatever you put at the top of the priority list is what's going to be ultimately what gets the best result. There's a saying, or a little, I think it's a saying type story type thing that somebody says, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't know the exact thing. But they say there's two wolves. Whichever wolf you feed is the one that's going to be the strongest. And so, you know, like I think in there they say like one is a wolf of positivity, the other one's a wolf of negativity. Whichever one you feed is going to be the strongest. So you got to choose which wolf you're going to feed. And that's the case with everything. Anything you do, whatever you put your time, effort, energy into the most is you're going to get the most out of. And so you just got to prioritize what is most important. And this is just me speaking. Prioritize what is most important to you, and you know everything else will just fall in place anyways.
Absolutely. It is getting dark. I didn't realize we have been talking. It is 8:33.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
You know, time flies when you're having fun.
It does, and it happens a lot, especially when
shiny.
When you have great conversation. It always happens. I do have some church announcements before I let you go. Of course, thank everybody that came on tonight. Last October, was able to published my first single book,
Hey.
That's Design. It is out on Amazon. Or you can put my name in, Camilla Foster, and it will come up. If you want to continue to bless this platform for all the things that I have to take care of to make sure that we are here, you can donate at my Cash App at Sunshine Camilla, Kamilah. That is how you spell my name. I thank you in advance for all that you do and all that you've done. Like I said, this program is sponsored by Blacktop Streetball Association, btsba.com. Please go support my brothers. It's back in the hands of the culture now. So they will be going on tour soon. So we want to support them if possible. I spoke of Alita earlier. AC's Teas, 313-380-0321. The best ginger and turmeric teas ever. You will be addicted. The whole winter, the whole time that I've had her drinks, I've never been sick. We already know the natural cures has everything to do with ginger, turmeric, all the great things. So please support her. Again, she's on Facebook at AYECEE. All these places that I am saying tonight, again, are all Black owned. Waffle Cafe Detroit on the west side, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And they're starting brunch on Sundays from 11 to 4. Again,
shout out DJ Bug.
Yes, absolutely. That is my heart. He's the reason why I'm doing podcasting, because of him. 313-739-6308. Address 18685 Livernois. Please go support. Awesome atmosphere, awesome menu, awesome food, awesome people. Please support him. Boog is doing so much stuff I can't even keep up. He has an event space in Oak Park, 23120 Coolidge Highway. Please support him. 313-469-2943. Again, if you want to have birthday parties, baby showers, all them great things, please look out for Boog. He just added another thing on top of all the stuff he's doing and DJing and all this great stuff. He just started Behind the Camera, which is Boog's Eye View. Please go to his page on IG, and I believe it's on Facebook as well. Again, Boog's Eye View. Matter of fact, I just had a photo shoot last week with him, so I'm waiting for my beautiful pictures to come back from that. Alpha and Omega Naturals, all natural hair products. When I tell you, it is awesome. As I used it for myself, my mom, her hair is growing back. Her hair completely fell out because of medicine and stress and all those wonderful things. Alpha and Omega Naturals got her back, her hair growing in. So again, she has proof for those who deal with alopecia, things of that nature. She has gotten it where your hair is definitely growing back. And then last but not least, Sweeties Day weekend, where you will see both of us. And he's fine, but is he saved? Stage play. Tomorrow, somebody say with me, tomorrow ends the early bird ticket. Tomorrow evening at midnight. Don't want to miss it. General admission is $40. VIP is $60. What do you get with that? Okay, you get awesome seating, light refreshments, and then you get to meet the entire cast, which includes all of us, includes Bruh Man from the 5th floor, Jewel Tanker, and David Pigpen, who won Sunday's Best season 8. So again, I can't tell you no details, but just know your girl might be singing with them. But anyway, I ain't gonna say nothing else about that. Again, Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd, 7 p.m. Henry Ford Civic Center. So the ways to get the tickets, you can actually inbox any of us in the cast to get physical tickets. You can go to Eventbrite and put in the stage name, the stage play's name, and it will come up. Or you can go to God's World on West 7 Mile and you can purchase there. So our thing is, we do have a competition. Whoever sells the most tickets will be announced on, I believe, opening night, and you'll win some money. So again, help us out with that as well. Again, just let them know who sent you or who purchased the tickets from, and we can be together with you. I am one. I think I'm second right now.
I think you are. Listen, I always play catch up, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let y'all get a head start. I'm gonna let y'all get a head start. Now
I don't know, because I sold 3 today, so I don't know. But anyway, again, those are the church announcement. Of course, always keep yourself governed. I'm usually here every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. until I will be here again on this Tuesday with a young lady who's doing it big and singing and rapping. In the month of October, because our schedule is about to be nuts, I might not be here. It's a very big, strong possibility. My show will be postponed until after the play, because our rehearsals are the same time as this. So again, I'll keep you abreast of that. So, Jason, do you have any words?
Well, you can follow me at The Jason Experience. That's TheJasonXperience, and that is on all social media platforms. Like it was posted earlier, I do have my comedy special on my YouTube page on The Jason Experience on YouTube. It is all clean. It is called Pastor Might Sit Me Down. It is hilarious. I haven't had a single person tell me like critique or anything. Everybody just said that's the one. So check that out. And do I have anything else? No. If you're interested in personal training, you can also inbox the Better Body Bureau on. Oh, that was a like. I got the like. But you can inbox the Better Body Bureau at on Instagram if you're interested in personal training, as the Better Body Bureau, all one word.
Absolutely. Well, he got the like, so that means time's up. Again, thank you guys for always stopping by, always supporting this wonderful platform that we're trying to get to TV land. Again, thank you, Jason, for taking the time out to have this conversation with us. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Again, me and Jason will be together this Saturday for our first rehearsal of this wonderful play that we're about to bring to the stage, and we bring it. That's all I'm going to tell you. Again, I will be back here, and I can't forget, be safe out there. Be safe this weekend. It is the holiday weekend. We have dangerous heat wave out and all these wonderful things. Please stay hydrated. Do what is needed to be done. Stay calm. No attitudes. All those great things. I don't want to see you on the news. Again, I think that is it. I will see you back on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please let somebody know. And I believe in 6 degrees of separation. Literally one person away, one advice away, one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. Moving over and over again since we started the show. See you on Tuesday. Jason's in the dark.
I'm in the dark.